satisfied. Well, taking a little break for the next couple of weeks. I won't be here for two Sundays. Heading off to Cuba a week from yesterday. I'll be there for 2 weeks. I talked to my contacts in Cuba, and they're telling me they're expecting around 1,600 kids in the next 2 weeks. I'm praying for at least 2,000. So if you guys could keep me in prayer, we leave, like I said, this coming Saturday. We have a couple people coming in to speak next week. We got Travis is going to bring a message next week. Stand up, Trav. Travis goes to Trinity Christian Academy, and he had a little message that he brought to the kids in his chapel about a month ago, and he's gonna share a message with you guys next week. Dave, who was off today, he had some other duties that he had to take care of. He's got a side job that he had to get. He'll be filling in as well the week after. So we got a couple of special speakers in the next couple of weeks. You guys would come in and enjoy a break from me. But so the next 2 weeks I'll be in Cuba, and talking mostly to anywhere from 12 to 15-year-old kids in the they're coming to the celebration. It's like a vacation Bible school. VBS is what we'll be doing for the next 2 weeks. And pray, Lord, what kind of message do you want me to bring these kids? You know, I'm a little bit older. Sometimes the kids, you know, like Travis's age, they look up and they say, who is this old bald guy and what kind of message is he bringing, you know? And how is it relevant to me? So the message that I'm preaching to these children for the next 2 weeks, I'm bringing to you guys today. I'm going to kind of like you guys as a practice for these guys. Now, there's a little bit of difference between a 12 to 15-year-old and some of you 20-year-olds.
Amen. Amen. Preach, brother.
But, you know, the word, it's relevant. The word's relevant. We see over in children's church, you know, you got to the children's church where you can swing the one close, so you got the younger kids and the older kids, you can separate it. Because it's hard to bring a message, you know, to some little kids, and then the older kids are kind of like, this is like a baby message. And then when you go to bring the message to a little bit of the older kids, the younger kids, they don't understand it, it's over their heads, and they're playing around, and they're not grasping it. But today I'm going to bring a word that it's going to stand out to all Christians, whether you're 12, 15, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I think, Christian, you're in the 70s by now, aren't you? 80s. This message is relevant to the youngest to the oldest. And we're talking about standing out. We're going into the Old Testament. You have your Bibles, you want to open up to the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 1. We're going to look at Daniel and his 3 friends and how they stood out. And I believe as Christians, we need to stand out. We need to be separated from the world. We're going to look at if you take a stand for the right things at the right time and in the right way, you will change the course of your life. If you take a stand for the right things at the right time and in the right way, it will change the course of your life. Now, if you compromise and you choose the wrong things at the wrong time and in the wrong way, you'll see that it will cost you more than you can imagine. But we're going to see this in the story of Daniel. Now, in verse Daniel chapter 1, we're talking about this guy named King Nebuchadnezzar. This guy, he was a pretty smart guy, but he was also a very worldly, and in the eyes of the Lord, he was an evil guy as well. Now, what happens here, and I'll just bring the story real quick. King Nebuchadnezzar is the king in Babylon, and he comes in and takes over all of Jerusalem. He comes in and he takes over Jerusalem. He destroys the temple. He takes the people captive. He takes everything that goes to the Lord for worship the Lord. He destroys everything. He burns the temple. He destroys the city. He humiliates God's people. He takes their faith symbols and destroys them. But even more, he says, I want to completely get rid of the existence of everybody. And he goes and he takes the young people, the young future leaders of the Israelites, and he intentionally indoctrinates them into the Babylonian culture. He goes and he takes the young leaders and he trains them to become future governors for him. And that's what we're going to look at today. Daniel verse 1, chapter 3, verse 3 through 5. It says, "Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, chief of his court officials, to bring into the king's service some of the Israelites from the royal family and the nobility. Your men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well-informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and the literature of the Babylonians. The king assigned them a daily amount of food and wine from the king's table. They were to be trained for 3 years, and after that they were to enter the king's service." I want you to see what the king does here. He's very intentional in what he does. Now, if you want to destroy a group of people, okay, you can come in and you can burn their houses and you can take them all into captivity. But he's very smart here in that he goes after the young people. He goes after the young people. He's intentional in what he does. He wants the young people to think, to behave, and to believe everything that he believes. It's kind of like our enemy right now. Now, if you look at the United States, who is our enemy right now? Our enemy, the Muslims, ISIS. What do they want to do? They want to rule the world. They want everybody to think and to behave and to believe what they believe. And if you don't, you should be killed. Now that's just in the carnal. I want us to look into the spiritual. As Christians, who is our adversary? The devil. And what does he want to do? He wants us to think and to behave and believe all the lies that he has to tell. And as Christians, we fight a spiritual battle. See, the Muslims, they're just puppets. They're puppets in the hands of the devil. We're not really against the Christians. We're against our adversary, the devil. Church, we've got the power to beat the devil.
Amen.
We've got the power because of the cross. Because of the cross and what happened on the cross. And if you flip all the way over to the end, the devil loses. But he's still fighting. He's still fighting because he knows that he can lie to us. He can destroy our lives. He can draw us over. It's a full-scale attack. He seduces, he lies, and he deceives. Let's look at the media. Let's look at advertisements. Let's look at music. Let's look at movies. It's all coming against the Christian belief. Everything in the world today comes against the Christian belief. These young kids that we're going to minister to in Cuba right now, they've kind of been sheltered from the world. They've grown up in communism. 60 years of communism. They've been born into communism. They don't know all the movies that we've seen. They don't know all the music that we know. They only get what their government allows them to see. So when Cuba opens up and the United States comes in with all the music and everything else, these young Christian children are going to be pounded with the lies and the deception of the devil. Because right now, they see America. All their friends have come to the United States. Oh, the great United States. And so when it opens up and all this comes in, and all the freedom of the internet, and all the freedom of social media, see, they don't have that there. They don't have the internet, freedom of the internet. Only what's controlled by their government. They don't have 300 and some channels on TV to look at. They have 5 channels. One's baseball and the rest is whatever the government wants them to believe. Well, in this world, we can't passively be a Christian. You can't just be a Christian passively. It's like when you go on a diet. You can't expect in one meal to be changed. I'm going to lose 20 or 30 pounds or even 5 pounds. And in one day, you cut down on everything. Oh, I'm not going to eat any sugar. In one day, that's it. You reach your goal. Like them guys that go to the gym. You can't go to the gym and expect to work out one day a week and become Arnold Schwarzenegger or fit and as trim as your pastor. I say that because I work out every day in my job. I hit the sauna every day in the back of my truck.
Amen.
10 hours a day. So you wonder how I get so thin. I'm in the sauna 10 hours a day. Some of you guys know that.
Yes.
Some of you guys are there with me as well.
Amen.
You can't go to church one day a week and expect to be able to fight a spiritual battle. You can't look in the Word or hear me preach it half an hour a week and expect to take on the devil. Ephesians 6:11. It's the main message. It's the main scripture that we're bringing to the children when we go over there. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. Therefore, put on verse 13, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you will be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, you are able to stand. We need to be able to take a stand. We're talking about the full armor of God over there. The full armor of God. Paul got it from, he saw the Roman soldier. They were covered from head to toe for battle. They had the helmet of salvation. They had the sword of the Spirit, which is the Bible. They had the breastplate of righteousness to cover their heart. They had the belt of truth. They had the gospel shoes of peace. They got ready for battle. Paul talks about that. We need to put on the full armor of God to stand against the devil. We can't be a passive Christian and stand spiritually and expect to win. We can't just go out there with just a sword and expect to fight. The scripture says that the devil has flaming arrows that he's shooting at us. We need more than just one day a week. We need to be in God's Word. Daniel and his friends, they realized that, and they saw that. They knew that. Daniel 1:6-7 says, among those who were chosen were some from Judah. Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief officials gave them new names. To Daniel, the name Belteshazzar. To Hananiah, Shadrach. To Mishael, Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. These were 4 boys. Historians believe they were 12 to 15 years old. They were uprooted from their family. They were taken over 1,000 miles from their home. They were stripped from their identity. They were crushed of any sense of dignity. And again, the king wanted them to forget all about their past. He wanted them to become Babylonians, to serve Babylonia, to believe their beliefs, to serve the Babylonian gods. And what happens? They come in and they change the names. They changed the names. All the names that they had were all related to God. They were all Yahweh, the true God. But the king said, no, we're going to change their names. That now their names will be Babylonian names, to serve the Babylonian gods. But you see here, they changed the diets too. The diet. They changed their diet. They said, the king said, they're going to come in, they're going to eat the food prepared for a king. Meat and wine. All this food was dedicated to pagan gods. It was all food that was dedicated to the gods of Babylonia. Verse 8 says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food and wine. And he asked the chief official for permission not to defile himself in this way. Now it's interesting here that they come in, and when these 4 young men are taken captive, and they're set aside, they're bright men, they come from royalty. It's interesting that when they go to change their names, they say nothing about their names being changed. It's not until they say they want them to eat this food. Now names identify us. We all have names here. I can look around and I can see Mike and Stan and Travis and Zach. Everybody, we all have our own names. Names that were given to us by our parents. Names that we identify with. They identify with their names that were given to them. They were named, not Christian names, but Jewish names, just like a lot of us have Christian names. But see, they didn't say anything about the names, because the names, it's an outward thing. See, they looked at it as, you can call me whatever you want. I know who I am. You guys can call me whoever you want. I know who I am, and I know who I am in the Lord. Whether you call me pastor, or you call me Mike, or you call me a UPS guy. I'm on my route to delivering. Some people go, hey, what's your name? I go, I'm a UPS guy. All right, UPS guy. I deliver to the Super Target on my route, and I come in there, and I see a Pepsi guy. I go, hey, Pepsi, what's up? Hey, what's up, UPS? See, a name is just a name. It's an outward But it wasn't until the inward happened that where this food that was dedicated to pagan gods, that's where they took their stand. And they said, no, we're not going to eat this food that's been dedicated to pagan gods. They said, we're not going to eat it because it's been, you can call me what you want, but we're taking a stand on this. They're taking a stand. They didn't want to defend their own names, but they would defend God's name. Because to them, God was most important to them. It was most important to them. They had a predetermined resolution. You can do to me what you want, but not to my God. A predetermined resolution. You're going to stand up for God, you have to make some decisions ahead of time. You have to make some decisions ahead of time where you say, I'm not going to cross this line, I'm only going to do this. I know about 20 years ago, my wife and I, the kids were real young, and we were getting very involved in the church, and I was teaching a high school, Sunday school. And my wife and I we had taken this resolution between ourselves that we would not watch R-rated movies. You got the G-rated movies, and at the time the kids were little, and we were watching Lion King and every other cartoon movie that were made. They were G movies. And then you got the PG ones when the kids got a little bit older. Okay, the PG movies are still kind of corny. And you got your PG-13 where they throw in a couple of curse words, and then you got the R where it's like every other word is a curse word, and they're literally having sex on TV. And we had said, you know what? It's not what we believe in. We took a little resolution there that we would not watch R-rated movies. And I can still remember this one Sunday, there was a movie out, and I think it was Gladiator had come out. You guys know that movie. What was an R-rated movie? And I understand that it was a good movie and everything, and the kid, we were talking about it in the Sunday school, and the kids were like, oh, have you gone to see that movie? And so I said, no, I haven't seen it. Oh, you got to see this movie. And I said, look, I took a resolution that I wouldn't watch an R-rated movie. Oh, but it's only rated R because there's a little bit of violence. There's not really bad language. It's just R. And I said, yeah, but you don't understand. I have a resolution that I won't watch an R-rated movie. But it's only because of this. And I said, but you see, it doesn't matter. See, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, they said, we're not going to eat this food. Yeah, but you know how good this food is? I mean, it's like filet mignon and lobster. Just this once. It's okay because, it's not like it's going to poison you or anything. But you see, they had a resolution. We're not going to defile our God. In our lives, we need to do that too. We need to have the resolution in our lives that we're going to take a stand at some point and say, no, I'm not going to do that because this is what I believe. This is what they did. They took a resolution. This is what we did. The movie The Passion of Christ. It's an R-rated movie. And I know it tells the whole story about Jesus, but I haven't gotten to see it. And I haven't gone to see it. I'm sorry, but it's R-rated, regardless if it's by Jesus crucifixion or not. I made a resolution that I wouldn't watch R-rated movies. And if it comes out and it's R-rated, I won't watch it, regardless if it's a story about Jesus or if there's just a lot of violence. That was my resolution. And I stand firm in that. Daniel and his 3 friends, they had a resolution. They stood firm in that. They said, no, we're not going to. Do with me what you want. We're not going to. It was a resolution that we took. It was a resolution that they took. But I want you to see that it wasn't a public show for them. They didn't stand up in front of everybody and go, we are God's people, we're not going to eat this food. No. They went, it says, but Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the royal food. And it said, he asked the chief official for permission. You ever see the righteous Christian that comes in and goes, you're all going to go to hell because I'm not going to do this. It's against my beliefs. We don't need to do that. These boys and Daniel didn't come out and publicly declare in front of everybody that it's against my beliefs to eat this to a pagan god. They came to the chief official and they said, look, we don't want to eat this food. Can you allow us to eat this? They went under Scripture. Scripture says that if you have a problem with someone, you go directly to them. You don't go above their head and say, oh, look what they're doing.